Hey everyone, it's me Dan. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a while, but I've done a lot of reading, and I thought that today I would review this book, Ready Player One, which a lot of you are very familiar with, I'm sure. As you might know, I changed the format a little bit on my videos, so I can talk a little bit more about the plot. So I'm going to tell you generally what I thought about it, then I'll give you a spoiler warning, and then we'll move on and talk a little bit about the novel itself. So, anyway, so Ready Player One is I believe it's the first novel by Ernest Cline. It's a nice little science fiction book. It's dystopian, and it combines dystopian kind of environment with virtual worlds and a treasure hunt. And then an interesting theme that runs through it is all this 1980s cultural nostalgia, which you'll find throughout the book. The book is kid friendly, and I wouldn't have a problem with anybody from the age of like 8 years old or older reading it. And it wasn't thickly written. There was not a lot of dense paragraphs, so it was very easy to read. And I think I read it in, I think it was 2 days off and on, you know, a couple hours here, a couple hours there. That was nice too. It wasn't a dense read. So. Now I will talk a little briefly just about the movie. As in most cases, I mean, the novel, as you expect, is better than the movie. The movie's a little bit disjointed and lacks some of the 1980s nostalgia, probably because you'd have to pay for all the copyright to use all that material in a movie, which you can get away with in a novel. You don't have to pay for all that stuff necessarily. So if you saw the movie and you're thinking, geez, should I go read the book? Yeah, go read the book. You'll enjoy the book better than you like the movie. So, okay, so here's my spoiler alert. Just letting you know that if you haven't read it yet, now's a good time to turn off the video and come back later after you've read it and just see what I have to say about the plot. So, alright, so let's talk a little bit about the plot. So the novel is set in about the year 2040, and there's been an energy crisis and global warming and all that sort of stuff that you'd expect, which is really typical of science fiction today, because those are issues that we're dealing with. And there's a virtual world, again, not new in the science fiction realm. But the two new things that make this book really interesting is that the author combines this idea of a treasure hunt and this 80s nostalgia. And those are kind of the hooks that get you into the story. The basic issue of the story, or plot, theme, whatever you want to call it, of the story, is that the creator of this big virtual world that everybody uses, the virtual world's called the Oasis, has died and has left the key to his riches hidden somewhere in the virtual world for somebody to find. The name of Wade Watts goes out and searches for the fortune, and it's no surprise, of course, he finds it. And what else would the story be? You know, there's a treasure, here's your main character, and he doesn't find the treasure. But what I would like to say is that that knowledge comes right off the bat when you're reading the book. So at the beginning of the book, you figure out, yeah, he's going to find the treasure. It's how does he get to the treasure, which maintains the interest in reading and pulls you through the story. So Mr. Cline did a good job using twists and turns and setbacks and some ingenuity and plot structure to keep you interested in the story, and then that pulls you through the whole novel. So now, one of the things that I mentioned is that he's incorporated a treasure hunt in this story. And this is something that actually exists in the real world. You might have heard of a thing called the Fenn Treasure. Apparently this guy by the name of, what was his name? Forrest Fenn. Could you beat that name? Forrest Fenn. Hid about $1 million in gold and jewels somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. And since about the year 2010, 5 people have actually died searching for this treasure. So there's this element to that treasure hunt which is real, that I think adds to the value of the treasure hunt in the story. And by the way, you can just look up Fenn Treasure, and you can read all about it online. Right. So what I would like to mention again is the 80s nostalgia. For a lot of people, this probably was more interesting than it was for me. You know, I was a kid of the 80s. I went to high school in the 80s, so all the references were readily recognized by me, except maybe one or two. And yes, I've actually played the D&D game, Tomb of Horrors. You'd have to read the book to figure out why that's important. But that game was part of my world campaign in my D&D group back in like 83-ish, 84. We played that as part of my campaign, and I was the dungeon master, of course. Why not? But in truth, the constant references back to the 80s for me became a little bit distracting. Anyway, so in the end, nice little book. It's appropriate pretty much for everybody. Movie, not quite so good. And it does make me, I think this is Ernest Cline's first novel. So I suspect, based on the quality of this book, I will look for Ernest Cline in the future, and I will probably pick up whatever his next book is, just because it was an enjoyable read. So that's about it for this book review. I'd like to, if you liked it, as always, you can like, share my video, tell your friends about it. Oh, I forgot to mention that, I know I've been saying this for a while, but my new novel, Akuta, that's gone to production. So they're doing the interior design, the artwork's all done and submitted. They just got to make it fit all the formats, put the title headings on it and whatnot. And so it should be coming out in the next couple months in e-copies. You can get soft copies, and you should be able to get hard copies as well. With all that said, I guess this is it. I will see you all next time.